Would you be interested in a gift idea that you could give to someone you love that would cost you practically nothing and that they would love forever? Well, let's talk about it. This idea came to me because of something I saw, something I overheard, and a voice message left on our home answering machine. Yeah, answering machine. It was back in the day. A little backstory though. We started our church in our backyard with one man, his conga, and his dog. And by the end of that summer, we had grown to the point where we couldn't hold everyone in our living room or our backyard anymore. So we moved to a grange. Then we moved to a bingo hall, and then they sold the bingo hall. So we moved to a motorcycle shop, and then we outgrew that. But it was during this time, we went from being a small, intimate group of people who just loved being with each other every minute of the day to a much bigger living organism full of people who didn't always get along with each other. And my husband, Dave, felt and internalized every disturbance, and the weight of it showed in him. It seemed like one battle followed another at this point in our church, and there was very little breathing room in between. We had just had to say goodbye to a dear family at this point, and we're juggling a few smaller fires. But no matter how loud or angry or petty the criticisms became, Dave never responded with anything but patience and love. It's not his nature to fight back. He will stand his ground and he will explain himself, but he never fights back. And on this one Sunday, I watched a man approach him after the service with, he kind of had fire in his eyes. I could tell he was upset about something. And he was mad because the church elder board had made a decision that he didn't agree with. And so he wanted to let Dave know about it pretty loudly. But I watched from a distance as over the course of just about 5 minutes, Dave very patiently and kindly dealt with the situation, explained things to the man so that he could understand the thinking behind the decision. And within just those few short minutes, Dave had calmed the man down and they parted as friends. And I was so touched by his demeanor and just his patience with this man. I wrote a little note to myself that I wanted to tell him about it later. So I took that little note and I put it in my pocket, thinking maybe I would put it in a note or a card, later. Well, I forgot about it. And the next Sunday, though, I was back in the kitchen with the other women, and I overheard one talking to another. And the one had come to us very skittish and wary. She'd been in a really bad situation at her previous church, and it had taken her quite a while to warm up to us. But warm up she did, and here she was back in the kitchen drying dishes, and she was explaining what had restored her faith and her trust. She said, "It was Pastor Dave. He wore me down with his kindness. He made me feel safe." Oh, I just love that so much. And I thought, oh, Dave has to hear that. I thought, I'll write that in the same note with the other little note that I wrote the week before. So I pulled that out of my coat pocket and I scribbled it down. And I thought, this is gonna be a nice note. He'll really enjoy that. Well, I forgot about it. And then it was another week or two later, I came home from church and there was this message on our voice answering machine. And I listened to it. It was from one of the men from the church. And it started out, he said, "Pastor Dave, I just want you to know how much today's message meant to me and how it really altered my thinking in some important ways." He told Dave that Dave's words had touched a rock-hard place in his heart and made him want to change. He said he wanted to know God more and he wanted God to have more of him, and just went on to tell Dave how much he appreciated him. And because we'd had so many attacks lately, those words meant so much to me. I stood there crying, and then I backed it up, got a piece of paper out, and I wrote down word for word this long 5-minute message. Well, now I have these 3 little instances that I wanted to share with Dave, but I thought that's too much for a note. It should be something else. And the idea came to me to grab one of the many blank journals that I had lying around and to get that little note out of my coat and write each of those as an entry in what became Dave's love journal. I've kept journals for many years. I've kept travel journals and art journals and a bullet journal and a food journal and prayer journals. I am going to share that with you coming up shortly. But by far, this is my most favorite journal I ever created. And what I did was all through the year, I paid attention to Dave. This was in the spring when all these three things happened in a few weeks. And I just kept adding to that journal. I would observe how patient he was with our kids, or the wisdom he shared with our son when our son had a problem and I could hear them talking in the other room, or how he would take Zach out and show him how to do something in the car, carburetors and transmissions and things. I know the words, I don't know what any of them mean, but Dave would be out there with Zach and he was training Zach how to be a man that could work on his own family's cars, which he does today. And I was so grateful for that. So I would grab the journal and just say, I'm so grateful that you spend the time with our son and teach him those important life skills. Or I'd see how gently he spoke with Tara, and I would write that in the journal. And this just went on through the whole year. And by Christmas, I had a pretty nice collection of notes in this journal, and I gave it to Dave, and he loved it. It's something that I know he'll never get rid of that journal. He's not going to return it. So here's the thing. Words are free. It doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time and some thoughtfulness. And the word tells us that the tongue has the power of life and death. And I think sometimes people have taken that in a different direction. Like they've thought, oh, the power of life and death. Well, don't speak out that you're sick because then it's going to happen. Well, I just don't ascribe to that thinking, because my thought is only God can speak the world into existence with just a word. If all of us had that power, we'd be in so much trouble. So no, I don't think we have that kind of power. I think in a very practical way, what that verse means is that with our words, we can shut someone down. That's death. We can shut down their hopes. We can squash their ambition. We can make them feel lesser. We can make them just close off and shut down. We can do that very easily. Proverbs also says that the wise woman builds her home, but with her own hands, the foolish plucks it down. And I think that happens with the tongue. That's my thought. But I think that not only can our words bring death to someone emotionally and mentally, but they can bring life too. It costs nothing to encourage someone to just say, I saw what you did and that was really beautiful. Or I really love how you handled that. Or, you always are so kind to people, so optimistic. Why aren't we more encouraging to one another? So this is a way that you could actually fan that little gift into flame. Become someone who is an encourager with your words. You can start with a journal and practice there. And it can be for your friends. It can be for everyone in your family. I'm currently starting them for my 3 grandchildren because they make me laugh like no one. And I want to remember every single funny thing they've ever said and every sweet, precious thing they've ever done. I just have so many great memories. One Mother's Day, my daughter-in-law, Brittany, texted me and she said, I'm coming with some flowers and just go with it. Go with the color. And I didn't know what that meant. And as they got out of the car, there was little Gage, and he was probably about 7 at this time. And little Maddie was probably about 4.5. And they came running up, Grandma, running up the walkway. And Brittany had the most beautiful bouquet of orange and pink roses. And I said, those are my favorite colors. And she kind of winked at me, but they really were my favorite colors. And Gage turned and said to his mom, I told you. And later we were talking and Brittany says, I couldn't believe it when Gage told me Grandma's favorite colors are pink and orange. It had been months since I had told him that as a little girl, someone had given me some Barbie nail polish. And if you held it up in the sunlight, the light through the oily nail polish was swirls of orange and pink. And it was just so captivating to me. I would stare at those colors. And every time I see orange and pink together, it makes me happy. I had told Gage that story, I don't know, months before this, and he tucked it away. And the fact that my grandson, in his little memory bank, thought, I have to remember Grandma's favorite colors are orange and pink. that's precious to me, and that's in my little journal for him. And little funny things Maddie has said, and now Aaliyah is starting to say little funny things. So anyway, I am starting it for my grandchildren. But within those pages too, I am sharing little Bible verses that I think are specifically for them, and my hopes for them, and the way I see them, and the way that I'm sure the Lord sees them. So I just hope that you will take this and run with it. My son, for his birthday one year, a couple of years back, I thought we would do this for him. And we bought a beautiful journal on Etsy, I think it was. Maybe it was Amazon, who knows. And I filled it with a lot of little anecdotes and prayers and wishes for him. And when he opened that at his birthday, he looked at it and he shut it up again quickly. And he said, I'm going to have to look at that later. And his eyes were full of tears. It's that kind of a meaningful gift. And about 4 or 5 Christmases ago, Dave gave one to me. It was a beautiful leather journal that I know he did get on Etsy, which that shocked me that he went shopping on Etsy, but he did. And every page he had gone into my Facebook and harvested my photos and then had written Bible verses that were a wish for me. And it made me cry. So I just want to encourage you, this is the very end of August. So you've got September, October, November. You've got almost 4 months if you started right now to do this little practically free gift for your loved ones. You can just do it at any old journal. What I'm doing for my grandchildren right now is one of those ARC systems where it has the disc. And I will link to that below because that way I can give them the books. Then just throughout the year, I can write on the blank pages and next Christmas add that to their book, or for their birthday. It can be an ongoing gift. But you do whatever works for you. The point of this is to make it as meaningful to the recipient as you can. And however you do that is however you do it. But I hope you do it. It's just a wonderful way to say 100 times over in a book, I love you. So there you go. Please share your thoughts with me. I would love to know if you're going to try this. And if you do try it, I'd love to hear how it goes. God bless you. I hope you have a joyful day, and we will talk again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thanks.